Welcome back, guys and gals. Today we're going to talk about the best ramp in each and every color. What I mean by ramp is I do not mean ritual effects like Dark Ritual or one-time effects. Ramp effects are either lands or a consistent flow of treasures. The reason I don't count rituals is because they're once. These are ramping you throughout the game. So, like last time, my rules are simple. I will have one that I believe the community deems as the definitive best. Of course, it's not really definitive, but what the community believes. Then I will have my favorite version of that type of effect in that color. In color by order, we start off with white, so we have Smothering Tithe. It is an enchantment for 3 and a white. Whenever an opponent draws a card, that player may pay 2. If the player doesn't, you create a treasure. Not too much to talk about here. Smothering Tithe is very popular for a reason. If you use any sort of windfall effect to make everyone draw, you make a bajillion mana. And if you use it fairly by just letting it go without making your opponents draw, you're still netting a bunch of value while also ticking off the table because no one likes to pay taxes. Now for my favorite pick in white, Keeper of the Accord. For 3 and a white, you get a creature human soldier 3/4. At the beginning of each opponent's instep, if that player controls more lands than you, create a 1/1 soldier. At the beginning of each opponent's instep, if that player controls more lands than you may search your library for a basic plains card and put it on the battlefield tapped and shuffle. Being able to ramp a maximum of 3 lands, assuming each and every opponent has more lands than you every single round, is insane. So insane that even green doesn't have that consistency. But that is a magical Christmas land scenario where everyone has multiple more lands than you. But it does also make bodies that you can chump with, and then you'll still have the lease, so you can keep making bodies. I mean, it's just a solid card, honestly. I think if your deck is white-red, or white-blue, even, I think you could definitely find a place for it. Not gonna lie, I was gonna give this spot to Teferi Temporal Archmage, but the fact that he costs 6 mana to finally ramp you doesn't seem very constructive for the ramping format. So instead we have Dreamscape Artist. For 1 and a blue, you get a 1/1 human spell shaper. Tap 3, tap, discard a card, sacrifice a land, search your library for up to 2 basic land cards, put them on the battlefield, untapped, then shuffle your library. This is effectively a blue Harrow whenever you want it, which is really, really good in blue, but again, we're not counting like High Tide because that is technically a ritual. This is honestly, I would think, the best ramp in mono blue you can possibly get without using mana rocks. Not the best, but we don't have a lot of choices in mono blue that aren't mana rocks, so Apprentice Wizard is my pick. For 1 blue, creature human wizard, tap a blue, tap it, add 3 colorless. Play this turn 3, play a land on turn 4, tap it, now you have 6 mana on turn 4. It's not crazy, but again, mono blue doesn't have a lot of consistent ways to add mana, and this is one that'll honestly catch people off guard. On to black, we have Cryptghast. For 3 and a black, you get a creature spirit with Extort. Whenever you tap a swamp for mana, you add a black to your mana pool. This one's kind of cheating. I didn't want to do anything that was exclusively for a certain type of deck. This obviously excels in mono black, but it can be useful in 2 and even 3 colors because it just cares if a swamp is tapped for mana. This includes triomes and dual lands. I still think it's the best mono black way to ramp, and it has Extort, which is surprisingly relevant a lot of the time. My favorite pick goes to Black Market. For 3 black, you get an enchantment whenever a creature dies, put a charge counter on Black Market. Beginning of your pre-combat main phase, add a black for each charge counter on Black Market. Yes, this is the same issue as the Teferi problem, but this can add way more than 4 mana, and it's whenever any creature dies. So if you play this and then you wrath the next turn, you get so much mana, and because it adds during your pre-combat main phase, you get to use it all with sorcery speed effects. I think, yes, 5 mana is high for a ramp spell, but it pays off. Red's ramp options aren't super great, so we have Ragavan Nimble Pilfer. For 1 red, you get a 2/1 legendary creature Monkey Pirate. Whenever Ragavan deals combat damage to a player, create a treasure token and exile the top card of that player's library. Until end turn, you may cast that card. Dash. 2.
I'm gonna come at you like a spider monkey.
Yes, this is a very expensive card. I wouldn't recommend any of these cards to, like, if they're like over 20 bucks or 30 bucks or something like that. But the fact that it comes out on turn 1, slaps someone, you have 3 mana by turn 2, you have 5 mana by turn 3. This is technically ramp and it's not a one-time thing, so I gotta give it to the monkey. On to my favorite pick, we have Runaway Steamkin. For 1 and a red, you get a 1/1 creature elemental. Whenever you cast a red spell, if Runaway Steamkin has fewer than 3 +1/+1 counters on it, put a +1/+1 counter on it, remove 3 +1/+1 counters, add 3 red. Again, this works best in a mono red deck, but if you're 2 colors, you can honestly still get away with it, because anytime the spell has red in it, that includes dual types, tri-typed, hell, even 5 types, whatever. As long as the casting cost has red, this will get a counter, and then you can remove 3 to add 3 red. Also, it's a 2 mana, eventually 4/4, which is pretty big for beats. Just remember that if you are using this for mana and it has been marked with damage, like if you swing it with it and they block with a 1/1, you remove the 3 counters, it will die to a state-based action because of it still having damage marked on it, and you remove the 3 counters. Just don't do that and use it for mana. Easy breezy. As for green, we have a bit of a tie. Nature's Lore. For 1 and a green, you get a sorcery that says search your library for a forest card, put that card on the battlefield, untapped, and then shuffle. 3 visits is the exact same thing. Like verbatim.
Corporate needs you to find the differences between this picture and this picture. They're the same picture.
These can go in any deck, honestly. 1 color, 5 color, 3 color, doesn't matter. They can grab typed lands like triomes. They can grab shocks and put them in untapped. I just think that, yes, green has a lot of options for ramp, but this comes in untapped, only costs 2 mana. Farseek makes them come in tapped. I would say that 3 visits and Nature's Lore are just the best ramp spells in green. Now hear me out for this one. Titania's Command. For 4 green, sorcery, choose 2. Exile target player's graveyard. You gain 1 life for each card exiled this way. Search your library for up to 2 land cards, put them on the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. Create 2 2/2 bear tokens, and put 2 1/1 counters on each creature you control. If you guys have watched any of my videos, you know I love modality. 6 mana for ramp 2 is quite bad, I'll admit, but it does let you search for any 2 lands you want. This can be Cabal Coffers and Urborg. This can be Field of the Dead and World Tree. And you get the option of exiling someone's graveyard and gaining a bunch of life, creating bodies if you need them, pumping your squad if you need them. The extra mode really pushes this card for me for my favorite green ramp spell. Now for some bonus content, we have Colorless. Remember that these rules imply that this cannot be mana rocks. This is exclusively land to battlefield. That's how I'm counting this. Otherwise, we just go on and on about all the different mana rocks. So we're just going to minimize it to exclusively lands to battlefield. Net ramp. Most popular of which is Wayfarer's Bauble. For a 1 mana artifact, you have tap 2, tap it, sack it, search your library for a basic land card, put them on the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. Not really a lot to report here. It's a very consistent, straightforward, and reanimatable way to ramp. Simple. My personal favorite being Sword of the Animist. For 2 mana, you get a legendary artifact equipment. Equipped creature gets +1/+1 whenever equipped creature attacks. You may search your library for a basic land card, put it on the battlefield tapped, then shuffle, equip for 2. Personally, I think as long as you've gotten at least 2 swings, you've made your value back. Everything after that is pure gravy. And the fact that it triggers off of swing and not connection, which means you can give it to some, I don't know, something with like 1 power and a bunch of toughness, it doesn't really matter. As long as you are able to swing, you are able to get the ramp, even if the creature dies. Thanks for checking in again. I hope this video does as well as my last Wrath video. We'll just have to see, I guess. But if you have any suggestions on what I should do for the top or best whatever, feel free to comment down below. And I love getting critiques, so hook me up with that. Later.